Perfect. Okay. Welcome, everyone. This is our second deep dive, we're calling it. A deep dive is an idea that we teach you a lot of stuff at EforAll, but we don't go very deep into the stuff you really need to run a business. So we created this monthly program. The first one last month was extraordinary. It was about hiring your first employee. And if you've never hired someone to work for you, it's pretty complicated. And our guest, Gay Weinberger, was fantastic. And today, the topic is going to be about selling on the internet. And our presenter, Matt Medeiros, will tell you a little bit more about himself in just a moment. He is a longtime EforAll friend, presenter, mentor from our South Coast location. I am here in Berkshire County, Massachusetts, and I have been a business coach for many years, which is why I sort of took on the job of running the deep dives. Because some of the folks who are on the call may not already be part of the EforAll family, I just stuck one slide in here to tell you a little bit about EforAll, because if you don't know about it, you should. We are now in 10 locations. We are in both English and Spanish in some markets. We run pitch contests, we run business accelerators, and we train entrepreneurs to have successful businesses. Over 500 businesses have been started by EforAll alumni, creating lots of jobs, lots of revenue, and helping people who are otherwise under-resourced. If you want to know more about EforAll in your community, our website has all the details, including applications to all of our programs, which are free. So here's what we're going to do with our program today. We're going to have an interactive presentation and discussion, and Matt is going to be leading it, and he'll introduce himself in a moment. Then we're going to stop the recording. That could be, last time it was actually more like 75 minutes of presentation and 15 of Q&A. It depends, but we also are going to be running some polls and asking you to chat and ask us questions as we move along. And we are more than happy to unmute you if you have a specific question about something that's being presented at that point. Actually, you unmute yourself. We really want this to be interactive, but if you have specific questions like, will you look at my website and see if my e-commerce is configured correctly, or do I have the right search terms in? We're going to save that stuff until the end. So the last thing I want to talk about is what the upcoming topics are, just so that you guys are all aware of them. We're going to be doing them Monday afternoons, and actually with the holidays, it's either the 2nd or the 3rd, because I didn't want to do it on Thanksgiving week or Christmas week. And then the 4th Monday is in Spanish. Next month is Noah Cook Dubin presenting free ways to get your website found. So it's kind of like the post class after this one. In December, we'll be teaching a class on getting certified as a minority and woman-owned business. If you want to get government contracts, that's a great thing to know about. And in January, we're going to have a pretty interesting topic, pause, close, or pivot, because so many small businesses have been challenged during this time, trying to figure out what's the right way to do it. Among ourselves at EforAll, we were talking about, how do you know what you have to do to close a business? So while we're not encouraging you to close it, we're going to provide information with a panel discussion if you're in that position where you go, I just don't know if I should stay open or not. And just so you know, all of our deep dives are going to be are archived now and will be at the www.eforall.org. So without further ado, I'm going to stop sharing. And Matt, you can start sharing. You can introduce yourself and you can get rolling.
Great. How's everybody doing? The old virtual thumbs up, right? That's what we're used to these days. Cool. Deborah, I don't know if you had a chance to actually share the link, but we can always send this to folks. You can either, actually, you can hop it, drop it into the Zoom chat now.
Sure.
Or share it
right
afterwards.
Now.
And this is a talk I've given in different flavors, different forms, different fashions. So it's a bit of like a boot camp style. Like Deborah said, we're going to learn a ton, dive into a whole bunch of things, and then do some interactive stuff where we'll actually see some things in motion here, and then get your questions. So The link to the Notion document is the entire presentation in detail, and then I'll show some slides just for like talking points as we move along. But all of the slides are expanded upon. There's links, there's resources, there's a bunch of things in the document that you can use after this call, right? This is stuff that you can just take with you, learn from, especially like all the different pieces of software and stuff at the bottom of the document. Hopefully all super useful for your business, getting online and all that fun stuff. Cool? Cool. Thumbs up. So who am I? Matt Medeiros. I've done EforAll since it started down on the South Coast. I've been a mentor 6 times. I do a lot of their web stuff, web presentations, some of these webinars, some of the office hour stuff that they do, help them with that. I co-founded a digital agency on the South Coast about a decade ago. I'm now the director of podcaster success at a podcast hosting company, which is at the internet at large. It's not on the South Coast, though I wish it was. I do a South Coast podcast about South Coast entrepreneurship at southcoast.fm. That's where I am. And I've got the links at the top of the document for those of you that want to take a look at some of the things that I do. What to expect in this presentation. Boot camp style, like I said, getting online, success mindset. We'll talk about like, what's going to really make or break an online business, from all things of like management, organization, picking your merchant account to finding customers online and keeping them coming back. Show and tell. We'll do the show and tell where we'll like take a look at an e-commerce store. Quite literally half an hour ago. So I sell, one of the things we're going to look at today is e-commerce is not just selling like hats, shoes, products, digital goods as well, sponsorships. Like this stuff runs a range of things that you can sell online, which hopefully opens up opportunity for your business, or at least for you. And for my podcast that I do, I just sold all of my sponsorship inventory for the next month. So we'll take a look at how I set that up and just like looking at the charts and stuff. And that was just literally a half an hour ago. Yeah, and then Q&A. We'll dive into Q&A. Let me just make sure.
I did just drop that link to everyone.
Cool. All right. So we're still in the document. And the preface is, look, a lot of this stuff, there is no 1, 2, 3 blueprint on how to run a successful business. I think anybody who's touched EforAll at any capacity has learned this, right? That you can set up the e-commerce site, you can sell a good online. It doesn't mean that you'll just be inherently successful from that. And one of the things that I like folks to think about is you must be ruthlessly determined to learn new methods and adapt to technology. What might be the path to starting an e-commerce website is not the same as successfully running an online brand. There's a lot here in this presentation. It goes from beginner to intermediate to more advanced. And, one of the things that will just not take away or one of the things that you must have that would take away from the success of a business is you got to have a good product, right? I think a lot of people forget that we have to be selling something that somebody wants, right? Or a lot of these efforts, a lot of these struggles that you might find of, why aren't people buying from my website? Why aren't people showing up to my website? We got to have a good product. We have to make sure we're addressing something, a need, a pain point, a desire of a potential market, of a potential customer base. And I think anybody who ran through the EforAll program, you're doing your customer profiles, segments, surveys, all that stuff. You need to have a great product, right? And you need to be ruthlessly determined to want to learn this stuff. I can see some folks in the chat. Some people have their video on. Let's get the old thumbs up. If you're ruthlessly determined to learn this stuff, let's go. Thumbs up. We got a couple people. All right. A couple people. I'm so used to doing this in person that the energy is slightly different online these days. Can everybody see this document okay as I scroll it on my screen? Is everybody good with this? Because it's a lot more detailed than just the bullet points that I have in a slide deck. So I might just stick with this if that's cool with everybody. So like I just said, what's the pre-flight checklist to any of this stuff? It's, I have a product people have shown interest in, at least. I've done some market research. Like I've talked to the people I want to sell my widget to, or the types of people that I want to sell my widget to. I've had discussions with potential customers, right? You've done this, and you've done this in EforAll, but maybe you've done this after EforAll or pre-EforAll, where you've talked to people and you said, is this product, is this going to work for you? What do you think about the way it feels, the way it looks, how you interact with it? How do you like my service? Whatever it is, you're having deep discussions with potential customers, because all of these lessons, everything you've learned in maybe EforAll, talking to customers, that is all going to go into your website. It's going to go into your website. It's going to go into your e-commerce. It's going to go into your branding, your messaging. If it's not, then that is one of the disconnects, which you'll find further on down the road.
Can you zoom in a little bit just to make your type bigger? People are saying they can't really read it. There we go. Perfect.
Good.
I also want to point out, Matt, we have some folks who maybe already have a brick and mortar business or a Main Street kind of business who
Yep.
maybe have never sold before. So they do have products. They've just never sold them online.
Sure thing.
And I also think there's some folks in here who are selling a service. So
Yep.
if you can talk about how you take whatever it is that you've sold before, I don't know, a massage therapist or whatever, and how do you sell that online?
Yep, 100%. So, and I'm glad to have folks there, because there's tons of opportunity, and there was tons of opportunity that we were all unfortunately thrust into because of COVID, right? A lot of people that I know, at least down on the South Coast, there were people that had traditional restaurants or like bakeries, and they were turned to selling online in a quick fashion. We had yoga studios where you literally couldn't go into the yoga studio until, I think, what was it, like last week, when it finally opened up, and they were turning to selling their digital classes through Zoom and other platforms. So a lot of this stuff, and I talked to accountants that were maybe, or office type services that couldn't meet in person. So they were selling their knowledge in the form of their own Zoom webinar or their own digital product, right? So tons of stuff, tons of opportunity. I've thought critically about the market that I want to serve and do not want to serve. Huge. This is huge when it comes to e-commerce, right? It's huge when it comes to branding, when it comes to your website. You know exactly who you want to serve and who you don't want to serve, because when we look at traffic coming into a website, which we'll talk about a little bit later, we're measuring this, and we're trying to convert people from visitors into adding to the cart, checking out, handing over a credit card. It's important to know who you don't want to serve, because that's the customer that's either they're not going to understand the product. They're not in the same price point as you. They won't, maybe not happy with the support that you might give in your service, that kind of thing. Very important to understand who you do want to serve and who you don't want to serve. And that messaging, right? The photos, the content, the video, the audio, all the stuff you do to supplement an e-commerce store is accurate. I've tested an MVP. Again, this might be for people who are just starting out. So an MVP, minimal viable product. If you're building a widget, you're building a thing, you've tested some capacity of it. I've reinvested my experiences back into the product, and I have confidence selling my product. Show of hands, who has confidence selling their product? Here we go. Here we go. We got some people confident in selling their product. All right, so we can dive into this stuff. So what does online business mean to you? I say, forget everything you've learned about the word e-commerce, right? Trade the term e-commerce for generating sales online, streamlining your business, and finding new opportunity. And to Deborah's points, we have people who are brick and mortar. We have people who are services. This is for you, right? This discussion is for you. There's plenty of ways to diversify, what you're doing, let's say with a brick and mortar store, and bringing it online. And that is either literally taking the stuff you sell in the store and putting it online as inventory for sale, or you're finding, some other value add that you can sell to a customer. And like I said, I talked to a few, there was an accountant. I'm trying to forget who else I spoke to at EforAll down on the South Coast. They were doing some other, maybe it was around legal or taxes. I can't really remember, but they couldn't be in person anymore. So they sold webinar style classes or digital courses, online classes on how to prepare things in their business for whatever the fee was. Maybe it was like $99, $149. And it's essentially taking what you're able to do in person, showing up to a business. And maybe it's saying, hey, I charge you by the hour. It's $100 an hour. I show up, I do this thing for you or with you. And now maybe you're selling it online and it's all virtually done. You meet with Zoom. And then you go off and you do something in the back end, and then you deliver this digital good to the customer when you're done. You know, it's like a spreadsheet of preparing taxes or reviewing contracts or something like that. The point is when we put it online, and this is the key, this is the pivot point. When you put it online, that transaction can happen at any time. You don't need to be actively selling somebody. They don't have to be actively walking through your store. It's that, quote unquote, passive income model where somebody shows up to a website at any point, purchases from you, and then they fall into this whole system that you've set up. And we'll talk about the system as we go along. But this is how opportunity is discovered. And this is how you can systemize your business, right? I've seen, I think we all are sort of, now it's the year 2020, we might all be aware of or have been exposed to, let's say, online educator courses, some kind of coach or membership model where it's, hey, let me just move this out of the way. Hey, for like, $19, you can buy our digital download checklist or something like that, right? Some kind of small purchase that gets the customer or your potential customer hooked into whatever it is that you're going to upsell them on in the future, right? So if you're a yoga instructor or like a health fitness, you might sell this small little course on how to use a kettlebell for $19. And it's how do you work out in your home and do all this stuff. And then eventually you're going to upsell that person to say, hey, why don't you come into the studio when people can actually come back into a physical building, or join my online membership at $19 a month. That's a recurring fee, right? And we'll talk about some of that strategies as we move along.
Matt, I just set off the poll about just trying to find out if people already had websites. And so 57% have one already. About 20% has a social media or a directory listing, and 20% don't have a website or social media yet. So that might help you inform the conversation.
So e-commerce, again, to me, it's a data term that often relates to selling products online. The first thing you might think about is Amazon, Walmart, and eBay. We'll learn today that e-commerce is about generating sales online. It's much more than that more old school or that model where I'm just selling something, putting it in a box and shipping it off to somebody. Generating sales online, technology has gotten faster, for sure, easier, arguably easier, I guess, for some people, and with many more options. So it's easier than ever to sell your services, your time, a productized service, a course, a membership, a webinar, training, monthly recurring revenue, sponsorships, and more. And of course, your physical product that has still not gone away, thankfully. Amazon doesn't own everything yet. Thinking about your business differently, streamlining your business, right? So even the smallest customer transaction can turn into a larger lifetime value. When you start selling online, you're opening yourself up to new technologies for marketing automation, streamlined onboarding, and customer segmentation. While this might sound overwhelming, and it might be in the beginning, remember, you're ruthlessly determined to learn, and software makes this process easy. This is what this means. When you sell something online, and we all have probably experienced this already, let's say you look at something on Amazon, and maybe you've already learned this in other EforAll courses. The retargeting pixel, our favorite, not favorite thing in the world, right? Where you look at a pair of shoes and next thing you know, those shoes are following you everywhere. They're on Facebook, they're on Instagram, they're Google. Somehow they show up on your microwave and you're like, what? How did this even happen? This is the world of marketing automation, upselling customers and increasing lifetime value. And when you start selling online, even if it's just one product, you start to put the pieces of the puzzle of streamlining everything together. So that person buys a product from either your website or Shopify or wherever. Then their email address goes into something like a MailChimp, or HubSpot is another one that I recommend. Constant Contact. There's a bunch of them. That transaction then triggers off a whole bunch of other opportunities for your business. Not only can you stay in contact with these customers, but you can remind them, hey, there's a sale coming up, right? There's another product you can purchase. Oh, by the way, you bought the silver plan from me. I also offer a platinum plan that's even better. Here's why. Here's this value. And then you can cross-sell, upsell, retarget with ad technology like the Facebook Pixel and Facebook ads and Google ads and that stuff. We'll talk about that later. And then you can start to segment those groups of customers over time. You make one sale, you make a dozen sales, you make 150 sales. Once you start that ball in motion, you start to see, oh, okay, now I've got segments of customers that I can target and I can understand and I can analyze. It sounds super overwhelming. It is, when you look at it from 50,000 feet. But remember that you can take all of these things in building blocks or little baby bites. It doesn't have to be all at once. What I'm saying is you're getting the ball rolling to be a good platform for your business.
And I think, Matt, one of the principles we teach in EforAll and every business course, I would imagine, I know the eForever has a few colleagues on here, is it costs a lot less to do more business with somebody who's already in your world, into your community, than to find a new customer, which is why you have a process. So sometimes as the person first touches you, you can then have them as a lifetime customer way easier and way cheaper than going out and getting new business all the time.
Yeah. I've had, like I said, I've done the EforAll program 6 times as a mentor, and I've had two startups that started with the concept of a recurring membership box, right? So like a Birchbox, or I think that's what it is, Birchbox. I don't know. My wife gets one with tons of clothes in it every month, so it's that thing. And then I get the one that delivers meat to my house, right? Because I was like, I don't really have to go to the store anymore, so I get meat delivered to my house. So I've had these entrepreneurs that do that, or anyone really that fancy the idea of starting an e-commerce store, but what they're forgetting is that hey, you now have to be able to support people. Not only do you sell this stuff, but now you have to support people online, and you have to be ready to literally deliver the products and goods, right? So it's what happens when somebody buys from me in the middle of the night, and then they have a question for me, and then they email me. Don't forget to check your email, right? And I know this sounds crazy, but I've consulted with businesses before that were like, I'm selling stuff, and everything seems to be fine. And then you check like their contact form, and there's all these people asking questions. Like, you're not checking your email. Like, this is a thing that has to happen. Really thinking about, what you're doing and what you're getting into, because it sounds great in the beginning, but there's a lot of behind the scenes stuff, which we'll talk about, that needs to be addressed. Okay. What makes an online store successful? So the simple act of launching a store doesn't make it a success. Build it, they will not come. We've probably heard that a million times. Your ability to tell a great story and provide a great online experience will be the difference maker. It won't be the logo. It won't be the design of the website in the beginning and the fancy imagery, right? Not yet anyway. Let's face it, most of us are crunched for time. So the less time you spend on the fluff, the more the hustle, the better your bottom line will be. This is another crux of us entrepreneurs. In the beginning, I'm sure you all went through this. Maybe you're still going through it, though the 20% of you definitely are, because you don't have the website yet, is you spend all this time like picking your favorite color blue. What size should my logo be, right? And then you're fixated on the things that aren't really moving the needle of the business. Let's get these products online. Let's get them out fast and efficiently. Let's not confuse the customer. Let's not waste time doing the things that you think are going to push the products out. Really, it's about getting this thing going, getting this thing tested. How are you going to get it to market? How are you going to get it in front of people so that they can buy? And then what happens next? That, whole checking the email thing, where are these people going to send you these emails? How are you checking it? How are you getting it fulfilled? Right? Of course, the technology tells you, hey, you got an order. But if you're like one of my entrepreneurs that had to put the boxes together, are you ready for that? Is there somebody ready to do that immediately? Is there a lag time? Do you have a promise on delivery dates? Like there's a whole back of the house that might have to happen depending on what you're selling. So don't waste time on the pixel pushing, as I say, in the beginning. You can start to enhance it and make it look great over time. It's definitely something that you should invest in. So you want to build hype around your brand, right? If you're in the building process now, either product or e-commerce website, you want to build hype first. No one's sitting on their phone hitting refresh on your website, waiting for that product to appear, right? Unless you tell them. So when you're in the EforAll program, it's a super great opportunity for you to build buzz, to build awareness. You know, I know down here in the South Coast, there's the local papers, the local TV channels and stuff. They'll dip into the pitch contests and check out like the cool entrepreneurs that are coming through the program. So there's always opportunity to jump into that pool of awareness. But you have to be the one that's out there telling that story, telling people to come. Right?
Matt, do you recommend if somebody's just getting started, starting small, like only selling 1 or 2 products, or do you need to have a whole range of things to make it worth people's while to visit your store?
No, 100%. So you start with 1 product. You start before you even have a product, in my opinion, right? So even if you're chipping away at, it's the term I used before is minimal viable product, MVP. So you might be building something that's super unique. You might be manufacturing it. You might just be thinking about it, right? As like this new service idea, right? So for the service people in the room, you literally put up a landing page. The first thing I tell everyone to do in EforAll, like when we do the mentor, is it mentor dating? No, mentor matching.
Matching, right?
Matching. There's a dating thing that's in EforAll.
It is like dating, though.
Yeah. The first thing I tell, like when I go through the room and I get to talk to everybody, I'm like, the first thing you should be doing when you get into this program is start building your email list right now. I don't have anything. MailChimp.com. Oh, I don't have a website yet. It doesn't matter. There's a link that you can share on MailChimp.com. Start building that email list immediately, because as soon as you get out of this whirlwind of a 90-day course or accelerator, you want to be able to hit the ground running. Like when your product is ready to go, you're ready to sell it. You hit go on the email, you tell people that the store is open, and they come and buy it, right? So I've told this story. I saw some people in the room that might have heard the story before, but one of my mentors one of my entrepreneurs was Boot Black brand, which is a flavoring for drinks, liquors, and other spirits and stuff like that. And he was a designer by trade. He was a digital graphic designer, and he was just sweating over every pixel on the website. I mean, rightfully so. He's a fantastic designer. But I'm like, man, we got to get this thing launched, and you got to see what it's like to make money online. And he had an email list, but it was all from farmers market. So it was all handwritten on like a notepad or something like that people had filled out. Yeah, I guess some digital things. So he compiled the list. He put it into MailChimp. I finally convinced him to get just get the first 3. He had 3 products at the time. Just get your first 3 products on the website, on the homepage. He wanted to do all this beautiful cover art and stuff. I'm like, let's just get the products up there. And then he said he agonized over that. He finally hit publish on a Sunday night. And then he woke up Monday morning and they were like, I forget what he said, $2,000 or $3,000 worth of orders.
Nice.
Right? Because people just, first of all, it was a little bit of buzz. It was the first time he launched an e-commerce store. So he had faithful fans that were ready to buy from him. But it was also like, how much longer are you going to wait for this? You would have sat there, pushing new art. It wouldn't have helped sell the product any more than it did now. So let's just get this on repeat. So tell your story. You have to grow the awareness around this. I mean, we'll talk about like advertising and SEO and stuff like this. But we got to love our product. We got to be confident in our product. We got to be ready to tell that story. Thumbs up. Which e-commerce platform should you invest in? So we're ready to go. We got our product. We're confident, and we want to take this.
So let's use Boot Black as an example, just because it helps me get my head around it. So they're selling a physical flavoring or something that they're going to ship to people.
Yeah.
Okay.
So my background is WordPress, it's WooCommerce, and the short of it is because it's open source, which means it's free, it's available, and you can do anything you want with it. There's a higher learning curve. So for any of you that have experienced WordPress before, you might have said that was the best thing ever, or you said you hated it. One of the two. So the trade-off is that you own WordPress, you own WooCommerce, and you can do stuff with it that you can't do on any other platform because, you can hire a developer, you can hire a designer, and you can do things that maybe somebody on a Shopify can't do. You get in the world of competition, that's something that matters in the long term. Bootblack was on Shopify, at least at the time. I don't know if he still is. And Shopify is a fine alternative.
So Shopify is a standalone website that's like a catalog website that's meant for selling. Is that correct?
It's an e-commerce platform. So
right. So it's not, it's instead of having a WordPress website, he has a catalog website on Shopify.
Yeah. I mean, you can do some kind of website stuff with Shopify these days. But the biggest caveat in this is, and look, it's always a trade-off, right? I think a lot of things in e-commerce and in web, there's always a trade-off. So I say, use WordPress and WooCommerce, and you say, yes, but there's a higher learning curve and it might be challenging for me. 100%. I say, go shop. You say, I go Shopify. Shopify, great. You pay higher fees than you would on your own site, but it's easier to use. You don't have to worry about a lot of the complexities. It still is a platform. So those are the things that we cannot control.
Okay, so there's one clarification I need to make, because I know some of the folks who are on this call have been in classes with me where we talk about Squarespace and Wix. If they have websites with Squarespace or Wix, how do they implement e-commerce on that existing website?
So Squarespace and Wix, I believe, have their own e-commerce solutions. And again, when we talk trade-offs, those are not going to be as advanced as Shopify or WooCommerce.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Yeah. So back to Shopify, Squarespace or Wix. Again, these are all great solutions for people. You just are on their platform. And I always like to bring that up because if you've been doing business online, or at least even things like Facebook, I tell the story all the time too. Like, you remember maybe 5-6 years ago, if you started on Facebook with your business, it was like, hey, everybody like your Facebook page. Facebook's telling you, make sure everybody likes your Facebook page and you can reach your audience. And then it's like, yeah, I'm reaching all my audience. And then as the months goes by, your audience count is going down. And you're like, why can't I reach all 1,000 fans? It's only reaching 90, right? And then the boost this post came about, right? And it's like, oh, now you want me to pay to reach my audience, right? That's the platform effect. And, a lot of these platforms can begin to charge you money, change the rules. And you always just have to be conscious of that, right? Just making sure that you understand, like, whatever it is you're selling, you're on their platform, you might not have total control. That's really why I go with WordPress and WooCommerce, generally for those reasons. Though I always recommend Shopify or Squarespace if you're just starting out and you want to get your feet wet.
Okay, and we'll have some time if people want us to look at their websites at the end. For anyone who came on late, Matt is presenting for an hour more or less, probably more, including some show and tell and demos. And then at the end, we're going to take all of your questions and be able to log on to your websites, and we'll be here till 5:30. So I'm sorry to interrupt. Keep rolling.
So yeah, WooCommerce, WordPress, you own this. Steeper learning curve, potentially higher cost to start, but offers you much more flexibility and control in the long term. And again, it's really going to matter depending on where you're at with your business. If you're in the later stage of your business, that's probably a great place to look and to start. If you're in a highly competitive business and you are butting heads with competition and you are looking to edge out the competition, it's a great place to start. Shopify, relatively easier and lower cost to start, but you give up ultimate control of your store since the platform is out of your control. What is flexibility for the long term? So again, like I said, WooCommerce and WordPress, because it allows you more flexibility. You own the platform. You do what you want with it. You can be more agile and offer more items. And this is one of the real strong wins for WooCommerce and WordPress is you can offer more types of things to buy. So you can have physical products that you're selling alongside of digital downloads. So maybe you're selling like ebooks and courses that go along with you, maybe your physical product, and you can do membership style solutions like private communities and members only content, all within WordPress. Shopify doesn't really play in that space. They have some solutions, but arguably not as robust or as powerful as WordPress. So if you had like this big mix of things, many different verticals of products and services, WordPress is a great choice, or WooCommerce. And it's already a content marketing powerhouse. Love content marketing, love producing content to get people to show up to your website. And WordPress does that better than anyone, in my opinion. Building your platform for success. So optimizing the experience. And this is where we'll start breaking down some of these areas, right? So it's easy to get lost in the building phase of web or e-commerce. We talked about that. Sometimes we're just pushing pixels around, picking the favorite color blue, et cetera, et cetera. Avoid getting lost in the weeds of overthinking or over-designing the areas that are not important to turning web traffic into customers. Like my Boot Black brand example, designer by trade was ready to choke me because he wanted to have all of the perfect pixels set up, but he just said, I'm going to get the store online, and he made thousands of dollars overnight. And then remember, the more you invest in the experience, the more your brand perception increases in value. And then remember, don't overwhelm yourself. You can take this in steps as long as you work towards it. So remember that. Don't get overwhelmed right now. We're going to talk about how you can take this in steps.
Matt, can I ask just a clarifying question right now?
Yep.
Some people said they didn't have a website, so they obviously need to do something. Others said that they had a social media or a directory kind of a page. Can you sell directly from Facebook without having a separate e-commerce platform? Is that even possible?
So they're rolling out, so you could sell in like, I think they're tying in, I'm trying to remember the name of it, Marketplace into the, into a Facebook page, right? So I think you can use it almost as a lightweight inventory management. Shopify, WooCommerce, probably Squarespace's e-commerce. I'm assuming. I haven't used it yet, but I assume that they're pretty big, so they might work with Facebook. So I think you can to a degree with Facebook, though it's not going to be as robust as setting up on WooCommerce or Shopify or something like that. The good thing is with WooCommerce, depending on what you're selling, you can literally get started for free. Building that out is fairly straightforward. Connecting it to Facebook is a couple of clicks when you get into that space.
All right. So just to make sure I understood what you said, you recommend having a robust e-commerce solution, whatever it is, and then connecting it to social media to drive sales, but not to probably do the sale itself on Facebook, but to promote it and to get traffic. Is that right?
Yeah. I mean, at the end of the day, so don't let the word robust fool you. It can be literally, and I'll show you the example of the store that I run for my podcast. It's a handful of products and a digital product for sponsorships. It doesn't have to be robust in the terms of it offers a whole ton of things. It can literally be one product that's hosted on your WooCommerce site that's connected to Facebook.
Okay, cool.
The idea is, though, this experience, and that's what these platforms want to do, is they want to own the experience, right? So Facebook wants to own this checkout, so that checkout experience, so that Facebook gets better, not you, right? Sure, they help you make the product or help you sell the product or get it out there. But what I am interested in, and what all businesses should be interested in the faces of giants like Amazon and Facebook and Google and even Shopify, is that you want to be able to own that experience. You're the one making the product. You're the one selling the product. You're the one doing the work to reach the customer. Why should they own that experience? It should be you, because that's what's going to drive more traffic back to your brand, right? To your business. Let me rip off this list here, and then we're going to go into each one. So education, authority, trust, frictionless, support, engage, empower. We're going to break down every single one of these things. That's what goes into the entire experience. Success in business or success in e-commerce or business is omni-channel, right? So a common question I get from business builders looking to engage their customers, raise awareness is, which social media channel should I use? Like, which one should I use? Facebook, Instagram? Well, the answer is all of them, everywhere, every minute of the day, which none of us can do, right? It's everyone. Like people say, which social media should I do? Should I do a video? Should I do a podcast? Should I do Instagram? You do all of them. I can't do all of them. No, we can't. If we could, it would be amazing. So you try to find the one that you can really excel at. For most people, it's Instagram. For me, it's podcasting and YouTube and stuff like that. But what we want to do is optimize for this experience, right? You have to be engaging and communicating across the board. The good news is you can double down on one channel at a time and get great at one before moving to the next. So yeah, how do we reach customers? How do we sell more stuff? How do we buy it on social? Which one do I go on? You go on all of them, right? You try to get everywhere. And I know I can't, most of us can't, unless we had a team of people. So you just focus in on dialing down on, let's say, Instagram stories, or Twitter or LinkedIn, and you just focus there. I say that because as an entrepreneur, we all have that shiny object syndrome, right? Where it's just like, well, that was cool. But this other one over here looks really cool too. So let me, I'm done posting on Facebook now for like 3 weeks. I'm going to run over to LinkedIn because somebody said LinkedIn is powerful too. And then we start chasing that shiny object. You focus in on one, you double down, and you just get really, really, really good at it. And focus on it until it's optimized. And if you're having problems, if you're running into issues with it, it's just not performing for you. Like, damn, nobody's engaging with me on Instagram stories, let's say. Maybe we have to try another medium, right? So maybe 90 days goes by and you're like, boy, this is just like beating my head against the wall. Well, maybe we have to try something else, right? Maybe your content is better on YouTube and then you focus more on YouTube. Eat your customers. Has anyone heard this before? It's such a, Halloween's coming, right? Zombies will be on the streets. Eat your customers. So attract customers through education on your brand, your product, your industry, complementary content. When we talk about building and attracting businesses and selling more product, usually it starts, for me anyways, eat your customers. So educate them first. If you're baking cupcakes, if you're doing gluten-free cupcakes, why did you start your business? Like, why did you do this? Why did you get into this? It's the number one. It's like the hardest thing for me, which is mind-blowing, for me to get out of customers when they're like building out their website. It's like, well, we start with the story of like, why are you doing this? Right. I know a lot of traditional like businesses when I got into the agency space, like 10, 15 years ago, they just looked at me like, I don't know. I just showed up like, or this business was handed down to me, right. From the family, right. That kind of thing. But we got to find that reason, right? Why are you starting a business? What has encouraged you to do this? Why are you going to make a difference with your business? Right. Then you move it to things like, what ingredients do you use? Like, what makes your product, your cupcakes, the ingredients different? Sourced locally, made from magical bees on the top of a Himalayan mountain. I don't know. What's in this ingredient that makes you so special? Do you serve dietary restrictions? Like, is there a purpose that people should show up at, or that like people can't get this anywhere else? We're educating with that. And then an example from like complementary content is, what makes a good muffin tin? So people are always like, I just don't know what to write about. I don't know what to talk about on Instagram stories or a podcast. Content is endless. You do have to sit down once and critically think about it, but you think about it from, how am I going to educate people on my brand, on my product, right? And complementary content, we see this all the time, right? If you're a bakery, you could be writing a blog post, the 10 best muffin tins made on the South Coast or something like that, right? And I can show examples of that later on.
Matt, in the olden days, and I've been doing this web thing a long time, we used to say to give away like a freemium, like to give people like a taste of what you're doing. As a coach, I would give them the 10 things you need to do to make money next week. And then I would get their email address and then get them into my marketing funnel. Is that still a common thing to do?
Yeah. Yep. So that goes earlier to the opportunity for for businesses, even if your business is, again, like I go back to boutique fitness, which is down on the South Coast, maybe coming, to mid Massachusetts soon. Who knows? The pandemic hit, COVID hit, and everyone's trying to figure things out, like way back in April, which feels like 50 years ago. Always looking for new ways to, like, how do I get customers in the door now that they literally can't come in the door? And that was one of the things that I think she offered for a little while until she started just doing much more of the recurring courses. But it was just like, here, download this quote unquote DVD for $19. And it was literally just a video file of exercising or coaches talking about exercise and in the home and stuff like that, since we were all trying to figure out what we were doing. And then it's like, okay, now you've solved a need for somebody. You solved this little problem for somebody for short money. They trust you. So $19, not a big investment for most who want to stay healthy. And then now they have a customer that they can potentially upsell the coaching sessions or the in-person shop to. EAT starts with E, education. Second, authority. Prove your authority by showcasing long-form content that provides unmatched knowledge against your competition. Other areas of authority can include, but are not limited to, awards, industry achievements, number of customers we serve, or McDonald's, 1 billion people served. Remember that? It's probably like 90 billion now. I don't even know. Interviews, books, and more. Education plus authority equals that trust, the T in EAT. Education plus authority equals trust. You can reinforce trust by providing customer testimonials, providing free seminars, trainings, or consultation calls. So the authority part, you've educated somebody, right? You've said, hey, when you're looking for gluten-free muffins on the South Coast, you found my blog post talking about gluten-free muffins on the South Coast. I have just educated you on what makes a great gluten-free muffin. By the way, the authority that I can show you is we have the #1 gluten-free muffin on the South Coast. We've served 5,000 different people. I have this book I wrote about gluten-free muffins, right? And they're seeing that and they go, wow, they really know their stuff, which leads the viewer, the customer, the person on the website to trust. They see a testimonial. We've all seen this, called social proof. We've seen people, quotes, video testimonials, the 5-star review, that kind of thing. Those are all things that are the, no pun intended, the icing on the cake to the education and authority. But like Deborah said, you can also provide free seminars. So if you hit my website, you see what I'm offering, you see what I'm selling, and you still don't trust me, join this free seminar coming up, or webinar nowadays, right? Because we're not going to be in person. So join this free webinar or download this free checklist or product or something like that, right? EAT, education, authority, and trust. Hope everybody's still with me.
We definitely are.
Frictionless. So if you thought the other sections were deep, welcome to the 7th level. Friction comes at all stages of the buying experience, and it starts with your product. So let's put aside the product for a moment and focus on the e-commerce experience only. Heavy design, cluttered layouts, slow loading websites, unruly copy, and confusing pricing all play a role in creating friction for your customer. I look at all of this stuff as, how would I be buying things from customers now, or from businesses? So nothing drives me more crazy, especially these days. And I'm like, okay, I've gone to every single pizza shop in a 40-mile radius because of this COVID stuff. I need to find another place to go do some curbside delivery food. And then you find another restaurant 80 miles away because you've touched every single one. And then you get to their website and you're like, where's the damn menu? And you're scrolling all over. You're trying to find the menu. Then you finally find the menu. It's a 50 gigabyte PDF you have to download on your 4G connection. Your kids are screaming in the background. And you're like, okay, I finally got the menu. Where's the phone number? Can I order this online? And then you just throw your phone because you can't figure it out. Friction. We don't want that, right? We don't want slow loads, confusing websites, all that stuff. We want to get friction out of the way. A lot of the times we just fall into friction because somebody says, I want 17 movies playing with the, music in the background when you get to my website. We don't need it. fast, efficient. Give me the product. Let me check out. So if you're just starting out, focus on lightweight look and feel, minimal graphics, and more copy, right? More text telling me why, educating me why I should buy this product, and vibrant photography or video. Lead the visitor to the products through text and clear navigation. Remember, at the end of the day, it's about getting your product into the hands of the customer, not your favorite color blue and that logo you spent millions of hours making yourself. Frictionless. We want to remove friction when people are buying. Less, the better.
My pet peeve is when they make you register before you can shop. Or you've put your whole shopping cart together, then they make you register and you have to refill the shopping cart. It's just like, you got to be kidding. I'm not even going to bother.
The best, I mean, this is a tall thing to say, but I think the best order checkout I've had for food, the best checkout, not the best food. Let's not get these let's not get these two confused here, is Papagino's. Now, I don't know if there's Papagino's where you guys are. There's Papagino's where I am. And it's a chain. It's a chain, right? This is nothing special here. It's pizza, right? Pizza, cheese, is nothing special. But their checkout experience is beautiful. Shopping cart, beautiful. They have a registration, but you can continue as guest and it doesn't bug you. It doesn't annoy you. Papaginos.com. Not sponsored. Hashtag not sponsored, but a beautiful checkout experience if you ever want to check it out.
Well, and I think at this point, we've all been customers online. So if you think about what those frustrating shopping experiences have been for you, it behooves you to figure out how to make yours the simplest, most straightforward, answer the questions people might have, and get them through the checkout process in a happy way. Otherwise, they're going to abandon shopping carts and then all your work is for naught.
Yeah. Yep. 100%. Support. This is where most tutorials on building a successful e-commerce store fade away. Supporting customers, the purchase, the delivery, the setup, the engagement are just as critical to the success of your business. Lots of support can come in the form of content, tutorials, videos, and other areas of training. Systems to aid in organizing customer support is also fairly accessible and very expandable once you're ready. So support, like the thing that really is the lifeblood of the business, you know, in the long haul, right? What happens after somebody buys a product? Is this a very complex product? Do they have to put this product together that they bought from you? Is it, you know, is it delicate? Like, what happens if something breaks? Are you there? Is it clear that they can email you? Do you have things like live chat? Again, I know it sounds super overwhelming, but these are the things that will come up over time, and you'll learn them because somebody will be asking for support, or how to put this stuff together. Putting these things together, tutorials, education, the education part of EAT, the education part, videos tremendously help not only support your customer after they buy the product, but it's also the double-edged sword. It also educates them in the beginning. If they can see how to put something together, they can understand what this product does or is, and they get to trust you because maybe you're visually doing this on this video and it's on hands and very personable, that kind of thing. Supporting content, supporting the customer, very, very important to the long haul of the business.
Jeannie's saying she finds it challenging to make a tutorial video and then uploading it. Here's the thing. There are lots of unemployed people out there. Someone will make one for you and they won't charge you a lot of money. Post it locally and I bet you'll find someone, Jean.
Yeah, 100%. Engage. The sale is never over. So we must continue to increase our lifetime value of the customer. Engaging customers through mediums like newsletters, podcasts, members-only groups, and reward programs are crucial for repeat business. I mean, referral business, just gigantic. You also have massive opportunities to survey your customers and reinvest back into your business or products. Did you like that product? Did it satisfy you? Did it get there on time? Did it get there all together? Or did it come in a million pieces? Engaging the customers, and this is when we talk about software, when any modern e-commerce platform you choose, WooCommerce, Shopify, Squarespace with their light, I think it's called e-commerce Lite, or it was last time I looked, Wix, which I think has e-commerce these days. They all have the tools. 99% of them have the tools necessary to do all the things that we're talking about today. Connecting to a newsletter, live chat, recurring payments, digital products. It's all available on any major e-commerce platform that's out there. They might not force you to use it. They certainly might not tell you you should use it. But engaging customers, connecting with them after the sale, all very, very important. MailChimp does this really well with like their automatic, it's not called automatic, automated emails that you can send out. And lastly, empower, right? So customers super happy. They love the product. We're talking to them. We're surveying them. They're recommending customers. And now we can empower them through things like affiliate programs or referrals to help really send home and seal the deal for them sharing your product, right? Having a killer product is half the battle, but empowering customers to get other customers on board to your business is like hitting warp speed through space. Customers love sharing what you've created and they can't wait to tell others about it, right? Insert your favorite coffee shop with very unique drink with tons of espresso in it, right? People go and they buy this stuff and they're like, so there's a place called Duke's Bakery right next to me. They have something called the Cold Joe and everyone's doing Instagram hashtag Cold Joe. You got to get a Cold Joe, start your day with 7,000 milligrams of caffeine, right? Like, so this is what everyone's talking about. So you're like, this is amazing. People are empowered to share this stuff. They love it. They have a rewards program and they let people, you know, they pick somebody from their Instagram page and it's like, wow, you did an amazing job. We get a lot of likes on that Facebook. You'll get a free Cold Joe next time you come in, right? Like empowering a customer, making them feel a part of the brand. Very important, right? Lots of stuff, but we all get there eventually. You don't have to launch with everything day one. You have to launch with a product though. Separating tactics from strategy. You can't replace a great product, great customer service, and a passionate leader with Facebook, with a Facebook pixel or a pop-up on your website. Tactics have their place, but a healthy product market fit strategy will always beat out the shiny new tools that bubble up in the space. Remember, eventually, marketers ruin everything. Marketers ruin, I ruin everything eventually, right? Because it's overused, right? The pop-ups, people hate them, they convert. At large scale, pop-ups convert, right? Tactics change fast. Invest in building long-term e-commerce strategy instead, which is like a lot of the stuff that we've already covered. So, and this is where most of the stuff gets into a little bit more hands-on, but search engine optimization, tactic and a strategy, right? This is a tactic and a strategy. You might be early on in your e-commerce days or website days or very far into it. You've probably come across the term SEO, search engine optimization. It is a massive, it's a massive landscape. It's not just one thing. It's just not a dozen things, many, many things. It's a lot of everything. The EAT strategy is I think it stemmed from the early days of people trying to figure out Google's, not early days. By early days, I actually mean like maybe 3 or 4 years ago, where EAT came onto the scene. People trying to reverse engineer the Google algorithm, right? So SEO is massive. The number one thing that helps in, at least in Google's world, is links back to your website. Like whenever you ever talk to anyone who is in the SEO world, it will always fall back to how many links are you getting back to your website? That's why many years ago, like 15 years ago, you used to see at the bottom of a footer, especially in the legal landscape, and they probably still do it today, though it's probably worthless at this point. It's just like attorney for, I don't know, Fall River. And then at the bottom, it's like attorney for Dartmouth, Westport, Fairhaven.
Oh, absolutely. That was
Matterpoint.
definitely
like,
a thing that we all did.
Just like keywords everywhere. Like it doesn't really work anymore.
Matt, I want to just check in with you. So we are an hour into this, which is crazy because I feel like we've just touched the surface and we have not done your show and tell. And I want to have time for questions. So yeah. Do you think we should go into the demo section and then leave 15 minutes for questions? Will that work?
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah, not that this stuff isn't important, it is. And next month, as I said, our deep dive is all about getting free traffic to your website. So come back and you'll hear more about that. But I think there's stuff that you want to show us about how e-commerce works that I don't want to miss. And a couple of people have already given us their URLs that they want us to look at.
Okay. So if everyone again, everyone can just take this link or this link, and everything is here. So all of these links this is stuff you can get started with now. Google Search Console, Google Business, page speed testing. That's all right here. So a lot of this, like what you can do now, is stuff you can literally take this document and do that stuff now. And at the bottom is pretty much just a lot of the stuff we talked about with WordPress, like things that I think are going to be really important to you for WordPress, getting your site up with WooCommerce, links to all that stuff, MailChimp, ConvertKit, HubSpot, and a bunch of other stuff, YouTube, Wistia, Google Analytics. So definitely use this as a resource to get your site up and running.
Okay, I just resent it in the chat if you missed it before. So there you go.
All right. So
if you don't know what you're looking at, Matt is showing you the back end of a
yeah,
WordPress website.
I'm going to show you something else too. Nope. I'm trying to remember the link to it, and I can't remember. So let me just do this. Just do that. See if I can remember the password to this one.
This is live a presentation. Yeah. That's what stuff happens.
Okay, beautiful. All right, so I've pulled up 2 different platforms. I've pulled up Shopify, Shopify demo site that I was working with for my day job to run some tests on some things. And then this is the store that I run for my podcast. And this is WooCommerce. So this is WordPress and WooCommerce. Now, a few points is, and let me pull this up as an example. Sorry, let me get this up. Printful.com. So here's what I do. And this is so like you thinking outside of the box, right? So how can I add extra revenue to my brand or business, right? So if you're a physical, especially restaurants, coffee shops, something that, you have a brand, really trying to emphasize that brand. Maybe you want to sell merchandise or something like that to supplement it. That's what I do with one of my podcasts called The Matt Report. So I sell t-shirts and hats, right? Your typical merchandise play, right? So it's a podcast. It's about WordPress. It's about web. It's about digital, all this fun stuff. And you can support the show by going and buying a t-shirt. And in fact, what I do is I donate all of the profits from these shirts, which is very minimal, to a nonprofit organization, right?
So Matt, do you actually have those t-shirts in a back room, or are they print on demand through that company?
Yeah, so they're print on demand by that company. And that was the example I was going to show, is a company like printful.com, right? You go here and you can upload your logos, your graphics, that kind of thing. And there's many of these types of companies that are out there. I've just found Printful to be the best for connecting up to WooCommerce and WordPress. And they have a pretty decent program too, whereas you don't have to buy a bunch of inventory. They just drop ship when you sell, right? So you go and you pick whatever, materials, shirts, products, whatever, and you can upload your logo on it. They show it to you, just like you see here. You can kind of see it and get a sample of it, right? So somebody can come here.
That shopping link is sending them back to Printful.
So it's all done. So that's what I was gonna get to.
I'm asking stupid questions.
the Printful integration will actually go and import all of those products into my WordPress website. Right. So this is on my WordPress website here. I have all of the products here, all the different colors and whatnot, and I can come in and write my descriptions. It's taking all of that information from Printful, and my customer never sees it, right? So when they go to checkout on store.mattreport.com, it's just never leaves my website. It's just all the product is communicated and delivered through this unique Printful connection that I have to my website.
It's called an API, right?
Yep.
So basically what happens is you take the order on your website and that API then sends it to Printful and they fulfill. So it is literally the easiest way to start selling stuff is basically there's no risk to you. You just are doing the front end and they're doing all the back end.
Yep. So, what's the trade-off there? The trade-off there is your units per unit order is higher than most, right? So, I think, well, you can see it right here, starting from $12.95. If I don't know if it shows it here. Let me just see.
The trade-off is your customers are going to pay a higher price and you're going to make less, but you have no risk and you don't have a garage full of t-shirts.
And I don't have a garage full of t-shirts. Absolutely. 100%. Yeah. So I'd have to actually log in to see.
It's okay.
You can basically set the price. So even though the base cost might be, let's say $12.95 for this particular t-shirt here, it goes up a little bit once you digitize your photo. So it might be $13.95 as the cost. I mean, you can sell the t-shirt for $75 if you wanted to. Will people pay for it? We'll find out. But the idea is you can kind of control the cost here. You pay a little bit more. As an example of how fast you can get things online.
One last question about this. Where does the money trail go? Do you collect the money or does Printful collect the money?
That's a great question. So the transaction happens on the website and you collect the money. And what happens is when the transaction happens, when somebody buys a t-shirt or a hat, let's say, your credit card is charged to Printful immediately. So the cost of it, right? So that's $12.95. Printful hits my credit card for $12.95 while the person who's paying me is going through my Stripe merchant account. So immediately $12.95 goes out to Printful, charged to my credit card, and then their $24.95 comes in to my merchant account at Stripe.
And who ships? They ship it.
Printful ships it. Yep.
And are they doing free shipping?
No. So most customers are paying for shipping as well.
So that has to be built into your WooCommerce interface and pass that along as well, right?
Yeah, they calculate all the shipping stuff. Yep.
Okay.
It's calculated automatically. Yep. And even all of this, all of like all of the photos, all of the stuff is populated there. I will do this, as an aside, if anybody wants the video on that. It's this video that I did.
Oh, great.
Zoom. So yeah, as an example of selling things online, and chat's over here, selling things online as an example. And if you want to see how that store is put together, I do it in that video in 15 minutes.
Great.
So that's one example.
Excellent. Let me ask one quick question that's related to that. Aren't people resistant to paying shipping charges now?
I pay shipping for things. I think it depends on the product. Like if I had to buy a tube of toothpaste, I'd say no. This is why I pay Amazon $100 a year for Prime and my videos that I watch. But if it's a unique thing, look, I mean, you could have a whole conversation on like merchandise and branding and things like that. I think people are willing to are people willing to pay a little bit more dollars to me and shipping because they're supporting my brand? Yeah. I mean, a lot of this stuff you could look at as a charitable contribution. I don't really think anyone's rocking their Matt Report t-shirt in pride, at some club somewhere, though I would love that. A lot of people do it like, hey, they support it. That's awesome. Right. And I give everything to charity anyway. So,
but I know some of our entrepreneurs have struggled with this, because if you're selling like a $12.95 hot sauce and then you're charging $7.95 to ship it, you're almost better off just selling the thing for $17.95 and eating the cost of shipping, including it in, because when people have a $12.95 item in their shopping cart, they don't want to pay another $8 to ship it.
Yeah. So, one of the things that when we go back to what is going to make this thing successful, you're really immediately just talking to customers and getting that feedback, finding out where that tipping point is of running a profitable business. That a lot of that will be decided in the spreadsheets of your business. But I know from the entrepreneurs that I've had in the past, it could be like, okay, so maybe the business can't sustain selling a single bottle of hot sauce, $7.95, but to one person out in Texas from Massachusetts, but maybe you're putting together a premium box at $99. It's sold as a gift package and it's got more value to it that way. And that is free shipping, right? So you might be able to position that value added box at $100 as something, or whatever the number is, $50, $100, whatever it is, where you can eat the shipping costs and still be profitable. And that's a great way to anchor the person who says, but I really love that hot sauce and I'll be willing to pay the $7.95, that kind of thing. So you can play with how you package product, how you sell it. Does it feel more valuable? They feel like they're getting a deal from it. Maybe instead of selling one, you're always selling a half a dozen. Like, I only sell it in half a dozen. You'd be foolish not to buy half a dozen of this hot sauce.
This
right?
is really good hot sauce. All right, sorry. I know you want to show Shopify too.
Yeah, and then so that is physical product, again, drop shipping. Again, this is what it looks like in the WordPress world. You can go ahead and click that. I sell a digital sponsorship, right? So because I do a podcast, I read ads on this sponsorship. I sell a sponsorship for $100 a pop on this particular show. And I use my e-commerce as the mechanism to people to come and buy it. So like I said, I did this half hour before we started. I always sell 8 at a time. So I sell 8 sponsorships every month, 2 sponsorship ads per podcast episode, 4 episodes a month. That's 8. And I tweet it out and it generally sells within the hour, those sponsorship spots. But I decide to deliver it through e-commerce platform because, like we talked about before, as soon as that person purchases, their email goes into my database. And if I ever want to sell them something else, or if I ever decide, you know what, I'm not going to use my e-commerce platform to sell ads anymore, I can just email these people at any time. Plus, they get into the other newsletters that I offer. So there's a great way to stay connected. That's that whole systemizing thing. As soon as you get that one transaction, they go into many other aspects of the business, right? So that's the concept behind that. And it's just a digital good. So I just come in and this could be your service. This could be your ebook. You could literally start WooCommerce for free and sell through PayPal, because that's the one that you get for free with WooCommerce. And Stripe, I'm sorry, PayPal and Stripe. You don't need a whole bunch of stuff, right? You built trust. If you're like me, you're building websites for people. Maybe you're doing website reviews for people at $100 a pop or something like that. You can use e-commerce and say, hey, just go to my website, fill it out, buy there. But I want to give
could you put a Stripe or a PayPal link up without a real shopping cart, without a WooCommerce?
So what you can do is use something like, the quick answer is no, because it has to be trusted. Technically, it has to derive from a trusted source, but you could use something like jotform.com. There's a bunch of these online form builders. And let me just look at the pricing table for free. They do 10 payment submissions. Right. So it needs to derive from a trusted source. It has to be a website with,
I got it.
It has to be encrypted, et cetera, but you can do it for free. Right. So if you're like, hey, I don't even want a website, I don't even want to set up WooCommerce, nothing. You can go to this Jotform thing. In fact, you could use Notion, what I used here, to build out this document, and how you all got the web link, this public, this not even a joke. You could use this share link. And I have a website called goodmicrophones.com, because I do podcasting and people always say, what good microphone should I get? I think it's microphones. No, that's not it. Good microphone. Yeah. Good microphone. Good microphone. Don't go to the one with the S. You never know what to do. Goodmicrophone.com literally just redirects to a Notion page. And it's just it's just links that I have that go out to the best microphones you can get.
And those are affiliate programs
Yeah,
that
this
you
is
get.
affiliate. Yep.
So you're getting paid if people buy through that.
Yeah, like 2 cents.
Yeah. Well,
2 cents.
hopefully $1.99.
Yeah, I get 3 kids. All right, I gotta pay. I'm still buying diapers times 3. So, so goodmicrophone.com. You don't even need a platform. You gotta use Notion or something like that. Let's take a look at Shopify. So Shopify, again, it's you don't have to set up WordPress. You don't have to find a web host. It's all done at shopify.com. And just so I know how much everything is, pricing starts at $29 a month. Staff accounts 2, locations 4, reports, all this stuff, shipping discounts. And this is where you get to the meat of it. Stripe, PayPal, Shopify, WooCommerce, they are all roughly within 0.1% of each other, I believe, from the merchant standpoint. So if you're using, Shopify's merchant account, it's 2.9% plus the 30 cents per credit card transaction. Stripe gets the same, I believe, off the top of my head.
And you need those accounts separate, and then you integrate them into your Shopify or your WooCommerce, correct?
Yeah, I mean, you can use Stripe with Shopify. They rolled out their own merchant payment processor recently, so you can just use theirs if you want. And like I said, it's all relatively the same. I mean, 2.9% plus 30, 2.9% plus 30 cents per transaction.
Just the cost of doing business. Yeah.
Just the cost. Yeah. Just the cost of doing business. But then you have your base price of $29 a month, and then it goes up, depending on what you want to do. And this is where you might start doing the math. Well, okay, maybe WooCommerce is a little bit better, like staff accounts, 2. Well, okay, there's one for you, and maybe there's one person that helps you. But what happens oftentimes is somebody may be like, well, I'm going to hire somebody who does like some graphic work for me, or like a marketer, and I'll give them access to my Shopify store so they can upload graphics and stuff. Well, as soon as you need 3 staff accounts, you're bumped up to $79 a month minimum for Shopify.
Can we see the back end on what you can do in Shopify?
Yeah. So you start to ask yourself those questions, right? When you start comparing the platforms, pricing. So this is products. I have one in here because I was testing something called the best chair ever made. And just like WooCommerce, trying to do them side by side a little bit here. WYSIWYG, what you see is what you get, right? So that's what this is. So you're just editing the title, you're putting in a description. Same thing on the WordPress side. You're editing the title, you're putting in a description. Maybe you're categorizing it. T-shirts, you're doing all of that stuff the same here in WooCommerce. In Shopify. Maybe you're putting in the sizes. On this one, you're typing in the sizes, the colors, the price points. It's all very similar. There are some nuances. And I would say that Shopify is easier at the end of the day. Managing your product availability, types, vendors, collections, tags, like all this stuff. You can do that, categories, tags. You can do all of that same stuff in WooCommerce. But I would argue that at the end of the day, Shopify might be a little bit easier to comprehend than WooCommerce in the long run.
So Matt, let me just make sure I'm understanding this, and then I want to get some questions going. Mm-hmm. If you wanted to hire an expert like yourself or another developer to build this stuff out, the idea is once it's built out, you could update it yourself, you could manage it yourself. But if you find it daunting to initiate this, to build it out the first time, to work those integrations, to get it working with MailChimp, to get it working with your payment processor, that would be a pretty logical way for a startup business to go, right? In terms of using the expertise of somebody else to create a pretty good online e-commerce, or I know we're not using that, online sales opportunity, and then keep it up to date yourself or add new products later, correct?
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. 100%. 100%. So again, like I would say that when you're comparing the two big platforms, the Shopify against the WooCommerce, Shopify is definitely, like I said, it's going to be easier for you to start. And it will be easier for you to get support from them. So if you're not in a situation where like, geez, I can't even really hire anybody to help me do this, Shopify is definitely a platform where, you know, there's a staffed support team. People can support you. They might even have phone support. Don't quote me on that. But you certainly would not get that with WooCommerce, the staff support and a phone number. There's plenty of tutorials. It's actually a larger footprint than Shopify, et cetera. So there's a lot of stuff you can find on the web about it. But if you're like, I want to feel a little bit more cozy with my e-commerce platform, Shopify would be one I would start with.
Okay, do you want to wrap it up with any final words of wisdom before we start taking questions?
Make that money. Go out and make that money, right? Sell stuff. No, I'm happy to dive into questions.
All right, so this is your opportunity to unmute yourself and ask your questions. Kelly, we're gonna stop recording because I want people to feel like they can ask the question without